The morning sun peeked through the dusty curtains of Zara's small apartment as she stretched her tired muscles. Her body ached from yesterday's practice, but that was normal in the life of a ballet dancer. At 26, Zara Johnson knew the clock was ticking on her dream of becoming a principal dancer at the Metropolitan Ballet Company. Second in line wasn't bad, but it wasn't what she had sacrificed everything for. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Strange. Nobody called this early unless something was wrong. Hello? Zara answered, her voice still rough with sleep. Zara, thank goodness you picked up. It was Director Chen, sounding unusually frazzled. We have a situation. Isabel can't perform tonight. Zara sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. Isabel Wong was the company's star, their principal dancer who never missed a performance. What happened? Is she okay? Zara asked, already calculating what this might mean. Food poisoning. Bad seafood from that new restaurant downtown. She's been up all night and there's no way she can dance. Director Chen paused. The performance at the Wellington estate is still on. I need you to step in. Zara's heart skipped a beat. The Wellingtons were one of the wealthiest families in the city, known for their annual charity gala that attracted the elite. The ballet performance was the centerpiece of their event, and they paid the company handsomely for it. Tonight? But I haven't rehearsed Isabel's parts, Zara said. Though her mind was already running through the choreography, she knew most of it from watching rehearsals. You're the only one who can do it, Director Chen said firmly. Your technique in the second movement is actually better than Isabel's, though I'd never tell her that. You've been practicing as her understudy for months. This is your chance, Zara. The word chance hung in the air. They both knew what this meant. A successful performance could change everything for Zara. What time do I need to be there? She asked, already moving toward her closet. Car picks you up at 4. The Wellingtons requested the original dancer, so just be prepared for some surprise when you arrive. You know how these high society types can be? Zara paused, her hand on a leotard. What do you mean? Director Chen sighed. Nothing specific. They're just particular about everything. Don't worry about it. Just dance like I know you can. After hanging up, Zara stood frozen for a moment, letting the opportunity sink in. Then she burst into action. She called her best friend Tia, who shrieked with excitement on the other end of the line. This is it, Z. This is your moment. Tia practically yelled. The Wellingtons might be snobby, but they know everyone who matters in the arts world. I'm nervous, Zara admitted, pulling out her ballet bag and checking that her pointe shoes were in good condition. It's such short notice. Please. You've been ready for years, Tia said dismissively. Just think, after tonight you might finally get the recognition you deserve. Zara allowed herself a small smile. Since she was 8 years old, growing up in a neighborhood where ballet lessons were considered an unnecessary luxury, she had fought for every opportunity. Her parents had worked extra shifts to pay for classes. She had practiced in their tiny living room, using the back of a chair as a bar. She had endured the whispers and stares when she showed up at competitions, often the only black girl among a sea of white faces. And she had proven herself, over and over, through pure talent and relentless work. Her scholarship to the prestigious National Ballet Academy at 16. Her acceptance into the Metropolitan Ballet Company at 22. Her promotion to second soloist last year, but a chance to perform as principal even for one night, was something else entirely. Zara spent the morning practicing in her apartment, pushing the coffee table against the wall to give herself space. She knew the choreography, a challenging piece that showcased both technical skill and emotional range, but Isabel's interpretation was different from how Zara would naturally perform it. After a quick lunch, she took a hot shower to loosen her muscles and carefully packed her bag. 2 pairs of pointe shoes, her broken-in favorites and a backup pair, her makeup kit, hairpins, a sewing kit for emergency ribbon repairs, and her lucky charm, a small wooden ballerina her father had carved for her when she was 10. At precisely 4 o'clock, a sleek black car pulled up outside her building. The driver, a middle-aged man with a kind face, helped her with her bags. First time performing for the Wellingtons? He asked as they pulled away from the curb. Is it that obvious? Zara asked, smoothing her simple black dress. She'd chosen to wear something understated, saving her energy for the performance rather than getting fully dressed up for the arrival. Everyone's nervous the first time, the driver said with a small smile. They've been holding these galas for 20 years, and they have expectations. There was something in the way he said expectations that made Zara glance at him, but his expression gave nothing away. The drive took them out of the city and into the rolling countryside where massive estates sat behind iron gates and long driveways. The Wellington property was the grandest of them all, a sprawling mansion set on perfectly manicured grounds with sculptured gardens and a view of the distant mountains. As they approached the security gate, Zara's phone buzzed with a text from Director Chen. "Break a leg. Remember, you belong there." Something about the message made Zara frown. Why wouldn't she belong there? She was the second soloist of the Metropolitan Ballet Company, not some amateur. But before she could dwell on it, they were waved through the gate and rolling up the long driveway. The house was even more impressive up close, a 3-story stone structure with classical columns and large windows that gleamed in the afternoon sun. Staff members in uniform moved purposefully around the grounds, setting up for what was clearly going to be an elaborate event. The car stopped at a side entrance, where a harried-looking woman with a clipboard waited. "You must be from the ballet company," she said, checking something off her list. Then she looked up and blinked. "Oh, you're not Isabel Wong." "No, I'm Zara Johnson's second soloist." "Isabel is ill, so I'll be performing tonight," Zara explained, extending her hand. The woman, Lisa, according to her name tag, shook it briefly, but her expression had changed. "I see, I wasn't informed of a change. Let me just—" She pulled out a phone and stepped a few paces away, speaking in low, urgent tones. Zara pretended not to notice, but she couldn't help overhearing fragments. "Different dancer. Yes, from the same company. Not what was expected. Should I inform Mrs. Wellington?" A knot formed in Zara's stomach. This wasn't just the usual stress about a last-minute substitution. There was something else happening here. Lisa returned with a tight smile. "Everything's fine. I'll show you to the changing room. The performance space is in the ballroom. We've set up a proper floor for you. Sound check and lighting run-through is at 5:30. She led Zara through a maze of hallways, past rooms being decorated with elaborate floral arrangements and staff polishing silver and setting up bars. The Wellington Charity Gala was clearly a no-expense-spared affair. The changing room turned out to be a small but elegant guest bedroom that had been converted for the purpose. A portable ballet bar had been set up, and there was a full-length mirror, comfortable seating, and a private bathroom. "Will this be suitable?" Lisa asked, still with that strange, tight smile. "It's perfect, thank you," Zara said, setting down her bags. "What time will the performance begin?" 8 o'clock sharp. Mrs. Wellington is very particular about timing." Lisa glanced at her clipboard. "Dinner for the performers is provided in the staff dining room at 6:30, though many of our artists prefer to eat after performing." "I'll just have something light beforehand," Zara said. Like most dancers, she was careful about what she ate before a show. "Of course." Lisa handed her a small map of the house with relevant areas highlighted. "If you need anything, use the house phone to dial 0. Someone will assist you." Left alone, Zara began her preparation ritual. She changed into practice clothes and broke in the performance space during the technical run-through. The ballroom was spectacular with high ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and now a proper dance floor installed for the evening. The lighting designer worked with her to adjust the cues, and the sound engineer ran through the music. Everything was professional and high quality, but Zara couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The staff were polite but distant, and she caught several of them giving her curious looks when they thought she wasn't watching. During a break, she wandered down a hallway lined with photographs. They showed the Wellington family through the years, at charity events, on exotic vacations, at graduations and weddings. Zara noticed that everyone in the photos, family members, friends, even most of the staff in the background, looked remarkably similar. There was a sameness that went beyond family resemblance, a carefully curated homogeneity that felt deliberate rather than coincidental. As she studied a recent family portrait, a voice behind her made her jump. Admiring the family history, Zara turned to find an older man in an impeccable suit watching her. His silver hair was perfectly styled and his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Just taking a little break," she explained. "I'm Zara Johnson with the ballet company." "Harold Wellington," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm, his appraisal direct. "I understand there's been a change in tonight's program." "Only in personnel, not content," Zara assured him. Isabel Wong is ill, but the choreography remains exactly as planned. I see. He studied her for a moment longer. My wife is particularly fond of classical ballet. She has certain expectations for the evening. There was that word again. Expectations. I'm confident the performance will exceed all expectations, Mr. Wellington, Zara said with a professional smile. If you'll excuse me, I should continue preparing. As she walked away, she felt his eyes following her. The knot in her stomach tightened, but with it came a familiar determination. Whatever expectations the Wellingtons had, Zara knew one thing for certain tonight. She would dance better than she ever had before. Back in her changing room, Zara tried to shake off her encounter with Harold Wellington. She needed to focus. Opening her ballet bag, she laid out her performance essentials with the careful precision dancers develop over years. Her mind drifted to her first ballet teacher, Ms. Vivian, who had spotted her talent during a free community class and had fought to get her scholarships. Clear your mind of everything but the music and movement, Ms. Vivian always said. When you dance, nothing else exists. Zara closed her eyes and took 3 deep breaths. Tonight was too important to let anything distract her. She began her warm-up routine, moving through familiar stretches and positions, feeling her muscles respond. The ritual calmed her as it always did. A soft knock interrupted her concentration. Lisa, the event coordinator, poked her head in. Just checking if you need anything, she said, her eyes darting around the room. And to inform you that Mrs. Wellington would like to meet you before the performance. Of course, Zara replied, keeping her voice neutral. When would be convenient? She'll stop by around 7:30. Lisa hesitated. She's very particular about the artistic elements of the gala. It's her special project, Zara nodded. I understand. I'll be ready. After Lisa left, Zara checked the time. Just after 6. She still had plenty of time to eat something light, finish her warm-up, and get into costume and makeup. She decided to head to the staff dining room early, hoping to avoid too many people. The house was even larger than it had first appeared. Following the map, Zara navigated through corridors lined with artwork that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Everything spoke of old money and carefully preserved tradition. There were no modern touches, nothing that suggested the Wellington family had any interest in contemporary tastes or ideas. The staff dining room was small but elegant, clearly designed to keep the help comfortable while remaining out of sight. A few workers in catering uniforms sat at one table, while a string quartet, also performing at the gala, occupied another. Zara filled a plate with grilled chicken, rice, and steamed vegetables from the buffet table and found a seat by herself. She had just taken her first bite when one of the quartet members, a young Asian woman with a violin case propped beside her, approached. You're the ballet dancer, right? She asked, her voice friendly. I'm Lily, first violin. Zara, nice to meet you. They shook hands and Zara gestured to the empty chair across from her. Please join me, Lily sat down. Have you performed for the Wellingtons before? No, this is my first time. I'm actually filling in for our principal dancer. Ah. Lily gave her a knowing look. That explains the whispers. Zara put down her fork. Whispers? Lily leaned forward. We've played this gala 3 years running. The Wellingtons have very specific tastes in their performers. Let's just say diversity isn't high on their priority list. I see. Zara kept her expression neutral. But her appetite was suddenly gone. Don't get me wrong, Lily continued, they're always professional. They pay well and on time. But there's always this underlying tension. Last year, they replaced our regular cellist 2 days before the event because he didn't fit the ensemble's aesthetic. She made air quotes around the last words. He's Filipino. Zara absorbed this information, a cold feeling settling in her stomach. So when Director Chen said they had expectations? Exactly, Lily sighed. Look, I almost didn't say anything, but I figured you should know what you're walking into. These people live in a bubble of privilege, and they don't particularly welcome anything that challenges their worldview. Thanks for telling me, Zara said quietly. I had my suspicions, but I wasn't sure. Just dance your heart out, Lily advised. That's what we do. Play so beautifully they can't say a word against us. And between you and me, some of the younger Wellingtons don't share the older generation's views. There might be allies in the audience. They chatted for a few more minutes about music and dance before Lily had to join her quartet for a final rehearsal. Zara finished what she could of her meal and headed back to her room, her mind racing. Part of her wanted to call Director Chen and confront him about sending her into this situation unprepared. Another part wondered if she should just fake illness and leave. But the strongest voice within her, the one that had pushed her through years of training despite every obstacle, refused to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her quit. Back in her room, Zara began her transformation. She applied stage makeup with practiced hands, turning her face into a canvas of dramatic expression. She twisted her hair into a perfect ballet bun, secured with enough pins to withstand the most demanding choreography. Finally, she stepped into her costume, a delicate creation of midnight blue tulle that contrasted beautifully with her dark skin. As she tied the ribbons of her pointe shoes, crossing them precisely around her ankles, she thought about all the dancers who had come before her, especially the black ballerinas who had broken barriers. Women like Raven Wilkinson and Misty Copeland, who had faced discrimination but had danced anyway, changing the face of ballet one performance at a time. At exactly 7:30, there was a firm knock on her door. Zara took a final look in the mirror, straightened her shoulders, and opened it. Eleanor Wellington was tall and slender, with expertly colored blonde hair arranged in an elegant updo. Her black evening gown probably cost more than Zara's monthly rent, and diamonds glittered at her ears and throat. Her face, though lined with age, showed the results of expensive skincare and subtle cosmetic work. She was the picture of wealthy sophistication. "Ms. Johnson," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes, "I wanted to personally welcome you to our home. I understand you're filling in for Ms. Wong." "Yes, Mrs. Wellington, thank you for your welcome." Zara kept her tone professional and warm. "May I come in for a moment?" Zara stepped aside, allowing the older woman to enter. Eleanor's gaze swept the room, taking in Zara's preparations and her costume. "The Metropolitan Ballet Company has always provided exceptional performances for our gala," Eleanor said, turning back to Zara. "My guests look forward to it every year. The company is honored to be part of your event," Zara replied. "Indeed." Eleanor's eyes narrowed slightly. "Tell me about your background, Ms. Johnson. Your training." The question seemed innocent enough, but Zara understood the subtext. This wasn't casual conversation, it was an assessment. "I began dancing at age 8, she said calmly. "I trained at the Community Arts Center until I was 16, when I received a full scholarship to the National Ballet Academy. After graduating, I danced with the Regional Contemporary Ballet for 2 years before joining the Metropolitan as a corps member. I was promoted to second soloist last season." "Impressive," Eleanor said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "And what made you choose ballet?" "It's such a traditional art form. I fell in love with it the first time I saw Swan Lake on a school field trip," Zara answered honestly. "The beauty, the discipline, the way it combines athleticism with artistry. I knew immediately it was what I wanted to do with my life." Eleanor nodded, her gaze appraising. "We have certain expectations for tonight's performance. Our guests are accustomed to a particular interpretation of classical ballet." There it was again. Expectations. "I assure you, Mrs. Wellington, the choreography remains exactly as planned," Zara said. "Director Chen would never compromise the artistic integrity of a performance." "Yes, well," Eleanor's lips thinned. "It's just that we weren't informed of any changes to the program." Zara met her gaze directly. "The only change is that I'll be dancing instead of Isabel. The piece itself, its beauty, technique, and emotional range, remains intact." For a moment, tension crackled between them. Then Eleanor smiled, a cool, practiced expression that didn't soften her eyes. "I'm sure you'll do your best," she said. "The ballroom will open to guests at 7:45. You'll begin promptly at 8. She moved toward the door, then paused. "My husband mentioned he met you earlier." He was surprised by Director Chen's choice of replacement. Zara's spine stiffened, but she kept her expression neutral. "I hope to exceed all expectations tonight, Mrs. Wellington. We shall see." With a final assessing glance, Eleanor left, closing the door behind her. Zara let out a long, slow breath. The message couldn't have been clearer if Eleanor had spelled it out. "You don't belong here. You're not what we wanted. You're not one of us." For a moment, Zara felt like that 8-year-old girl again, standing in her first ballet class, feeling the stares and whispers of the other children. The only black girl in a room full of white faces, Her second-hand leotard faded from many washings, her hair different from everyone else's. But she wasn't that girl anymore. She was Zara Johnson, second soloist with the Metropolitan Ballet Company, about to dance the lead in front of some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the arts world. She turned to the mirror, checking her appearance one final time. The costume fit perfectly, highlighting her strong, graceful figure. Her makeup was flawless, her hair secure. She looked every inch the professional ballerina she was. "You belong on that stage," she told her reflection firmly. "And tonight you're going to dance so beautifully that not even Eleanor Wellington will be able to deny it." Picking up her warm-up sweater and a bottle of water, Zara left the changing room and made her way toward the ballroom. With each step, she pushed Eleanor's words further from her mind, focusing instead on the music and movements that would soon fill her world. Tonight, she would let her dancing speak for itself. The Wellington ballroom buzzed with the well-dressed elite of society. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the gathering crowd as waiters circulated with champagne and delicate hors d'oeuvres. From her vantage point behind a partially open door, Zara observed the guests, business tycoons, politicians, old money families, and celebrities all mingling in their finery. A temporary stage had been set up at one end of the ballroom, with special flooring installed for the dance performance. The string quartet was already playing soft background music as people found their seats at elegantly arranged tables. Zara spotted Harold and Eleanor Wellington greeting guests near the entrance. Eleanor's diamond necklace caught the light as she laughed at something a silver-haired gentleman said. Harold kept glancing toward the stage, his expression unreadable. 5 minutes to curtain, a staff member whispered, startling Zara from her observations. She nodded and stepped back from the door, retreating to a quiet corner for her final preparation. Closing her eyes, Zara rolled her shoulders and neck, feeling the familiar pre-performance mix of nerves and excitement. She rose onto her pointe shoes, testing her balance one last time. The piece she would perform was a solo variation from La Bayadère, technically challenging and emotionally complex. Isabelle Wong had been scheduled to dance it with her trademark precision and delicacy. Zara's interpretation would be different, more powerful with greater emotional range. She hadn't had time to adjust the choreography to Isabelle's style, so she would dance it her way, bringing her own artistry to the classic piece. "Ms. Johnson?" Lisa appeared, clipboard in hand. "They're ready for you." Taking a deep breath, Zara nodded and followed her to the wings of the small stage. The quartet had finished their opening set, and were now positioned to accompany her dance. Lily caught her eye and gave an encouraging smile. Harold Wellington stepped onto the stage, and the room quieted immediately. Dressed in an impeccable tuxedo, he exuded authority and privilege. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the 35th Annual Wellington Family Charitable Gala," he began, his voice carrying effortlessly through the ballroom. "As always, we are delighted to bring you an evening of exceptional entertainment alongside our fundraising efforts." He paused, his expression shifting slightly. "We had planned to showcase the talents of Isabelle Wong from the Metropolitan Ballet Company tonight. However, due to unexpected circumstances, we will instead be presented with a performance by—" He glanced down at a card in his hand, as if he couldn't remember her name. "Zara Johnson, also from the Metropolitan." The pause before her name was brief but noticeable. A murmur rippled through the audience. "Please welcome Ms. Johnson," Harold concluded, stepping off the stage with a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. Zara took another deep breath and stepped into the light. The first thing she noticed was the silence. The sudden, complete hush as she walked to center stage. Then came the whispers, the shifting in seats, the surprised exchanges between guests who had clearly been expecting someone else. At a table near the front, Eleanor Wellington's face froze in a mask of polite interest that couldn't hide her displeasure. Beside her, a younger woman, perhaps in her early 30s, looked on with genuine curiosity. Zara took her opening position, her focus narrowing to the space around her, the feeling of the floor beneath her pointe shoes, the first notes of music beginning to play, and then she danced. From the first movement, Zara poured everything into her performance, every hour of practice, every criticism she'd overcome, every moment of doubt she'd pushed through. Her technique was flawless, her jumps light yet powerful, her turns precise and controlled. But it was the emotion she brought to the piece that transformed it from mere technical excellence into art. Through her body, she told a story of longing and strength, of beauty found in unexpected places. She became the character completely, her face expressing subtle shifts of feeling that matched every musical phrase perfectly. As she moved across the stage, executing a series of challenging fouettes, Zara caught glimpses of the audience's reactions. Some watched with open amazement. Others maintained careful neutrality. A few, including Harold Wellington, frowned slightly, as if witnessing something that confused or disturbed them. But Zara didn't dance for them. She danced for herself, for every dancer who had been told they didn't belong, for every artist who had been judged by appearance rather than ability. The music filled her, guiding each movement with an almost supernatural connection between sound and motion. When she finished, holding her final pose as the last notes faded, there was a moment of complete silence. 1 heartbeat, 2. Then applause erupted, hesitant at first, then growing stronger. It wasn't the thunderous ovation that might greet a beloved performer, but it was genuine appreciation from at least part of the audience. Zara held her smile as she curtsied, her chest rising and falling with exertion. As she straightened, she locked eyes with Eleanor Wellington, whose hands moved in the barest minimum of polite applause, her expression tight. Harold was already on his feet, stepping onto the stage before the applause had properly ended. "Thank you, Ms. Johnson," he said briskly. "Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy your dinner. The live auction will begin at 9:30. Just like that, she was dismissed. No opportunity to take another bow. No moment to bask in the accomplishment. The message was clear. Her part in the evening was over and it was time for her to disappear. Zara maintained her professional smile as she exited the stage. In the wings, Lily gave her a subtle thumbs up before rejoining her quartet for their next set. Lisa waited for her with a strained smile. "Excellent performance," she said, though her tone lacked enthusiasm. "There's a small reception room where the performers can have refreshments while the dinner portion continues." "Thank you," Zara replied, reaching for her warm-up sweater. "Is there somewhere I can stretch and cool down first?" "Of course. You can use the changing room. I'll have someone bring you water." Lisa glanced at her clipboard. The Wellingtons usually invite the featured performers to join the reception after dinner, but given the circumstances, they've suggested you might prefer to leave once you've recovered from your dance. The dismissal stung, but Zara kept her expression neutral. "I see. What time would they like me to depart?" Lisa looked uncomfortable. "The car can take you back to the city whenever you're ready." They thought perhaps within the hour would be convenient. "I understand." Zara gathered her things with calm dignity. "Please extend my thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Wellington for the opportunity to perform in their home." As she followed Lisa back toward her changing room, they passed through a service corridor where staff were bustling with dinner preparations. A young waiter, perhaps in his early 20s, caught her eye. "That was amazing," he said quietly as she passed. "I've never seen anyone dance like that." His simple words lifted her spirits more than he could know. "Thank you," she replied with a genuine smile. In her changing room, Zara carefully removed her pointe shoes, massaging her feet and beginning the stretches that would prevent her muscles from tightening painfully later. She had just changed into her street clothes when there was a knock at the door. Expecting Lisa or another staff member, she was surprised to find the younger woman who had been sitting next to Eleanor Wellington. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," the woman said. "I'm Valerie Wellington, Harold and Eleanor's daughter." "Not at all," Zara replied cautiously. "Please come in." Valerie entered, closing the door behind her. Unlike her mother's cold elegance, she had a more relaxed air about her, though her clothes were just as expensive. "I wanted to tell you personally how extraordinary your performance was," Valerie said. "I've seen many dancers over the years, including Isabel Wong, and your interpretation was something special." "Thank you," Zara said, surprised by the genuine enthusiasm in Valerie's voice. "I also wanted to apologize," Valerie continued, her expression turning serious. "I overheard that you're being asked to leave early, and I know exactly why. My parents' views are, well, let's just say they're stuck in the past." Zara wasn't sure how to respond. "It's kind of you to say something. It's the least I can do. Not all of us in the family share their perspective." Valerie sighed. "I've been trying to change things from within, but it's slow going. My parents control the family foundation, and they have very fixed ideas about everything, including who gets to perform at their events. She reached into her small evening bag and pulled out a business card. I sit on the board of the Regional Arts Council. We fund diverse artists and performances throughout the year. I'd love to discuss potential opportunities with you. If you're interested. Zara took the card. Reading the embossed title, Valerie Wellington, Vice Chair, Regional Arts Council. I'd like that very much, she said. Good. Valerie smiled. And just so you know, not everyone at that dinner shares my parents' views. I saw quite a few genuinely impressed faces during your performance. There was another knock at the door and Lisa poked her head in. Oh, Miss Wellington, I didn't realize you were here. Your mother is looking for you. Of course she is, Valerie said with a slight eye roll. Tell her I'll be right there. She turned back to Zara. It was a pleasure to meet you, Miss Johnson. I look forward to speaking with you soon. After Valerie left, Zara sat quietly for a moment, looking at the business card in her hand. The evening hadn't gone as she'd hoped, but perhaps something valuable had come from it after all. As she packed her dance bag, her phone buzzed with a text from Director Chen. How did it go? Zara thought for a long moment before responding. I danced my heart out. Some loved it, some didn't. Tell you more tomorrow. She slipped her phone into her pocket and took one last look around the room. Despite everything, she had stood on that stage and given a performance she was proud of. No one could take that away from her, not even the Wellingtons. With her head held high, Zara picked up her bag and walked out to find the car that would take her home. Zara's apartment felt especially quiet when she returned from the Wellington estate. It was just past 10 o'clock, much earlier than she'd expected to be home. She dropped her dance bag by the door and kicked off her shoes, too mentally and physically exhausted to maintain her usual tidiness. Making her way to the kitchen, she filled a glass with water and drank deeply, replaying the evening in her mind, the whispers when she took the stage, the palpable tension in the room, the way Harold Wellington had cut short her moment, hustling her off stage before the applause had properly ended. But she also remembered the genuine admiration in some faces. The young waiter's quiet compliment. Valerie Wellington's business card now sitting on her counter. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tia. Well, how did it go? Call me no matter how late you get home. Zara smiled. Her friend would want every detail, and talking it through might help her process what had happened. She tapped the call button. Tia answered immediately. You're home already? I thought those fancy galas went all night. Not for me, Zara replied, stretching out on her sofa. The Wellingtons asked me to leave early. They did what? Tia's voice rose indignantly. After you saved their event? Oh, tell me everything. Zara recounted the evening. Eleanor's cold welcome, the audience's reaction, her performance, the abrupt dismissal. That's awful, Tia said when she finished. I can't believe Director Chen sent you into that situation without warning you. I think he tried in his way. Zara sighed. He kept mentioning their expectations. I just didn't realize what he meant until I got there. Still, he should have been direct. It's not fair to— Wait, Zara interrupted, sitting up suddenly. Someone's posting a video clip of my performance online. Her phone had buzzed with a notification from her social media account. Someone named Dance Enthusiast had tagged her in a post with the caption, Stunning performance by Zara Johnson at Wellington Gala tonight. Why isn't she a principal dancer yet? Mit designer Black Excellence learned ballet. The clip showed about 30 seconds of her dance, a particularly challenging sequence of turns and jumps that she'd executed flawlessly. Who posted it? Tia asked. I don't know, Zara replied, scrolling through the account details. Looks like someone who follows dance performances in the city. Could be anyone who was at the gala. As they spoke, comments and likes were already accumulating on the post. Most were positive, praising her technique and expression. A few questioned why they hadn't seen her featured in more Metropolitan Ballet Company productions. This could be good exposure, Tia said thoughtfully. The company can't ignore talent when it goes viral. I doubt 30 seconds of dancing will go viral, Zara laughed. But even as she said it, her phone buzzed with more notifications. After finishing her call with Tia, Zara took a long shower, letting the hot water ease her tired muscles. By the time she checked her phone again before bed, the video clip had been shared hundreds of times and had thousands of likes. Dance students, professional dancers, and ballet enthusiasts from around the country were commenting on her performance. More surprisingly, a second clip had appeared, this one showing her entire variation filmed from a different angle. The caption read, "The full performance everyone's talking about. The Wellington family may not have appreciated this brilliance, but the rest of us do. Zara Johnson, breaking barriers." This one had been posted by an account called Wellington Insider. Zara stared at the screen, wondering who among the Wellington guests had decided to share her performance and mention the family's reaction so publicly. Sleep came fitfully that night, her mind too full of the day's events to fully rest. Morning brought a flurry of notifications on her phone and a call from Director Chen. "Have you seen what's happening online?" he asked without preamble when she answered. "Some videos of last night's performance are getting attention," Zara said cautiously. "Attention? Zara, you're trending. The clips have millions of views and people are asking why you're not dancing principal roles." His tone was hard to read, somewhere between impressed and concerned. The company's social media accounts are being flooded with comments. Zara sat on the edge of her bed, stunned. "I had no idea it would spread so quickly." "That's not all," Director Chen continued. "Someone leaked that the Wellingtons asked you to leave early, and now they're facing accusations of racism. Their publicity team has been calling us since dawn, demanding we issue a joint statement saying it was all a misunderstanding." "What did you tell them?" Zara asked, her mouth suddenly dry. There was a pause. "I told them I needed to speak with you first." "This is your experience, Zara. I'm not going to issue statements about it without your input." The fact that he was consulting her rather than simply telling her what to do marked a subtle shift in their relationship. One that wasn't lost on Zara. "I don't want to damage the company's relationship with important donors," she said carefully, "but I also won't lie about what happened." "I understand," Director Chen replied. "For what it's worth, I should have been more direct with you about the Wellingtons' history. I thought your talent would transcend their prejudices, and based on these videos, it did, just not in the way I expected." After they hung up, Zara scrolled through her social media feeds, amazed at how quickly the story had spread. Dance magazines and arts blogs were already reaching out for interviews. Several prominent ballet companies had started following her accounts. Even more surprising was an email from Valerie Wellington. "Zara, I hope this finds you well. I'm sure you've seen the videos circulating online. While I can't claim responsibility for posting them, though I have my suspicions about who did, I want you to know that I stand by what I said last night. Your talent deserves recognition, not dismissal. My parents are predictably upset about the public attention, but perhaps this will finally force some self-reflection. In the meantime, I'd still like to discuss opportunities with the Regional Arts Council. Are you free for coffee this week?" Zara was considering her reply when her phone rang again. This time it was Lily from the string quartet. "Have you seen what's happening?" Lily asked excitedly. "It's a bit overwhelming," Zara admitted. "Well, brace yourself for more. I just got a call from my cousin who works at the Arts Center. Apparently Anton Delacroix was at the gala last night." Zara's breath caught. Anton Delacroix was one of the most influential figures in the ballet world, a former principal dancer who now directed the prestigious International Dance Festival, which showcased the best talent from around the globe. "He was?" she managed to ask. "Yes, and he's been calling around asking about you this morning. Word is he was impressed, really impressed by your performance." The news was almost too much to process. The International Dance Festival was career-making. Dancers selected for featured roles often went on to become principals at top companies worldwide. "Thanks for telling me," Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady. After hanging up, she sat in stunned silence for several minutes. 24 hours ago, she had been a second soloist, stepping in for an ill-principled dancer at a private event. Now her performance was viral online. She was being discussed in dance circles across the country, and Anton Delacroix was asking about her. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Ms. Johnson, this is Anton Delacroix. I was privileged to witness your extraordinary performance last night. Would you be available to meet today to discuss a potential opportunity? Please call me at this number at your convenience." Zara stared at the message, reading it 3 times to make sure she wasn't imagining it. With trembling fingers, she saved the number and pressed call. Anton answered on the second ring. Ms. Johnson, thank you for returning my call so promptly. Thank you for reaching out. Mr. Delacroix, she replied, fighting to keep her voice professional despite her racing heart. Your performance last night was remarkable, he said, his slight French accent more pronounced over the phone. I've been following your career since you joined the Metropolitan, but seeing you dance in person was a revelation. The technical precision combined with such emotional depth is rare, even among principal dancers. That's very kind of you, Zara said, warmth spreading through her at the praise from someone she had admired for years. I am not being kind, Ms. Johnson. I am being honest. Which brings me to the reason for my call. As you may know, I select featured soloists for the International Dance Festival each year. I would like to offer you one of those positions for this summer's program. Zara sat down hard on the edge of her bed. I'm honored, Mr. Delacroix. The honor is mine. We need artists like you who can bring fresh interpretation to classical works while maintaining technical excellence. He paused. I should mention that I've already spoken with Director Chen. He has agreed to release you for the festival dates should you accept. Thank you. I would be delighted to accept, Zara said, her voice steadier now. Excellent. My assistant will email you the details today. And Ms. Johnson? Yes? What happened at the Wellington estate last night was unfortunate, but not surprising to those of us familiar with that family. Their loss is the ballet world's gain. Sometimes it takes moments like these to remind us all of the power of true art to transcend prejudice. After ending the call, Zara sat motionless, letting the reality of what had just happened sink in. The International Dance Festival. Anton Delacroix. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, born from what had initially seemed like a humiliating experience. Her phone was still buzzing with notifications, but she set it aside and walked to her window. The morning sun streamed in, warming her face. In the distance, the city skyline gleamed. Just 24 hours ago, she had been worried about making a good impression on the Wellingtons. Now she realized that their opinion had never mattered. What mattered was her dancing, the truth she expressed through movement, the art she had dedicated her life to perfecting. Someone had once told her that moments of greatest challenge often preceded moments of greatest opportunity. Looking out at the city, Zara finally understood what that meant. 6 months had passed since the Wellington Gala, and Zara's life had transformed in ways she could never have imagined. Standing in the wings of the Grand Theater, she took a deep breath, feeling the familiar flutter of anticipation in her stomach. The International Dance Festival's closing night was sold out, with dance critics and company directors from around the world in attendance. 5 minutes, Ms. Johnson, a stagehand whispered, passing by with a clipboard. Zara nodded, her mind calm despite the pressure. The last 6 months had taught her that she was more than capable of handling whatever came her way. The day after the Wellington Gala had been chaotic. News outlets had picked up the story of the black ballerina, who dazzled at an exclusive event only to be dismissed early. The Wellington family issued a carefully worded statement claiming a scheduling misunderstanding, but the damage to their reputation was already done. Several arts organizations had quietly distanced themselves from the family's foundation. The Metropolitan Ballet Company, caught in the middle, had initially tried to downplay the incident. But as Zara's performance videos continued to gain attention, with dance experts praising her technical precision and artistic expression, Director Chen had made a surprising announcement. Zara would dance the lead in their upcoming production of Giselle. It was a role usually reserved for principal dancers, and the company's decision raised eyebrows, both from those who thought she wasn't ready and those who believed the promotion was long overdue. Either way, tickets had sold out within hours of the announcement. Zara smiled at the memory of her debut as Giselle. She had been nervous, certainly, but the moment she stepped onto the stage, everything else had fallen away. There was only the music, the movement, and the story she was telling through dance. The standing ovation had lasted nearly 5 minutes. Now, as the orchestra began tuning their instruments for the festival's final performance, Zara peered through a gap in the curtains. The Grand Theater was magnificent with its crystal chandeliers and gold leaf details. Every seat was filled. In the front row, she spotted Anton Delacroix sitting beside Director Chen. They were deep in conversation. Ready? Lily appeared beside her, violin in hand. The quartet from the Wellington Gala had also been invited to perform at the festival, and seeing a friendly face had made the experience even better. As I'll ever be, Zara replied with a smile. Lily squeezed her arm. You've got this, just like every other night this week. The festival had been a dream, 2 weeks of performing alongside the best dancers from around the world, each night bringing new audiences and new appreciation. Zara had been featured in 3 different pieces, including a solo variation that Anton had specifically chosen to showcase her unique style. Critics had been effusive in their praise. Johnson brings fresh energy and perspective to classical works, wrote one. Her interpretation reveals new dimensions in choreography we thought we knew, said another. But it was the final night's performance that meant the most to Zara. Anton had asked her to dance a piece he had originally choreographed for his late wife, a celebrated ballerina who had broken barriers of her own. It was an honor few dancers ever received. The lights dimmed and Lily hurried away to join her quartet. Zara closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. When she opened them, she caught sight of a familiar face in the audience, Valerie Wellington, sitting several rows back. They had met for coffee as planned, and Valerie had become both a supporter and a friend. Unlike her parents, she had publicly praised Zara's talent and had used her position on the Regional Arts Council to create more opportunities for dancers from diverse backgrounds. The thought made Zara smile. Some good had come from that uncomfortable night after all. The stage manager signaled and Zara moved into position. The curtain rose, revealing her solitary figure bathed in soft blue light. As the first notes of music filled the theater, she began to dance. This performance was different from the one at the Wellington Gala. That night she had danced with something to prove, a determination born of defiance. Tonight she danced from a place of confidence and joy. Each movement flowed from deep within her, telling a story of struggle, perseverance, and ultimately triumph. As she executed a series of complex turns, Zara felt completely in her element. This was why she had fallen in love with ballet as a child, this sense of freedom and expression, the ability to communicate without words. Every sacrifice, every hour of practice, every moment of doubt had led to this point. The audience was completely silent, captivated by her performance. When she finished holding her final pose as the music faded, there was that breathless moment of silence that dancers live for, the second before applause. When you know you've touched something deep in the hearts of your audience, then came the ovation. Immediate and thunderous. People rose to their feet, applauding and cheering. Flowers were thrown onto the stage. Zara took her bows, her heart full to bursting. Backstage was a flurry of congratulations and embraces from fellow dancers. Anton Delacroix appeared, his eyes bright with emotion. Magnificent, he said, clasping her hands. Truly magnificent. You've honored my wife's memory in a way I never thought possible. Thank you for trusting me with the piece, Zara replied, deeply moved by his words. The trust was well placed. He smiled. Now there's someone here who wants to speak with you. He stepped aside to reveal Director Chen looking uncharacteristically nervous. Zara, he began. That was extraordinary. You've proven what I've suspected for some time now. You're ready for the next step. He cleared his throat. I'd like to offer you the position of principal dancer with the Metropolitan Ballet Company. Zara stared at him, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. Principal dancer, the position she had worked toward her entire career. This isn't because of the publicity, Director Chen added quickly. It's because you've earned it, through talent and hard work. The company needs artists like you, dancers who can bring new life to traditional roles while maintaining the highest standards of excellence. I don't know what to say, Zara managed, emotion making her voice unsteady. Say yes, Anton encouraged with a warm smile. And then we can discuss the guest appearances I hope you'll make with companies in Paris and London next season. Zara laughed, overwhelmed by the moment. Yes to all of it. Later that night, after the celebrations and congratulations, Zara found a quiet moment to call her parents. Their pride in her accomplishments meant more than any review or standing ovation. We always knew you could do it, sweetheart, her father said, his voice thick with emotion, from the first time you pointed your toes in those little ballet slippers. Remember how you used to practice in the living room? Her mother added, pushing the coffee table against the wall to give yourself space to twirl? Zara smiled at the memory. I do, And I remember when you worked double shifts to pay for my first real ballet lessons. Worth every minute, her father said firmly. After saying goodbye to her parents, Zara walked to the window of her hotel room. The city lights sparkled below, and in the distance, she could see the illuminated dome of the Grand Theater where she had danced earlier that evening. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tia. "Principal dancer." "I just saw the announcement online." "I'm screaming." Zara laughed, typing back a quick reply. Then she noticed an email notification. The sender was Eleanor Wellington. Surprised, Zara opened it, wondering what the Wellington matriarch could possibly have to say to her now. "Ms. Johnson, I owe you an apology. My behavior at our gala was inexcusable. While I cannot undo the past, I can acknowledge my mistakes and try to learn from them. My daughter Valerie has been instrumental in opening my eyes to my own prejudices. Your success since that night has only underscored how wrong I was. The Wellington Foundation is establishing a scholarship for young dancers from underrepresented backgrounds. We would be honored if you would consider serving on the selection committee. Sincerely, Eleanor Wellington." Zara read the email twice, surprised by the apparent sincerity. People could change, it seemed, though it often took something dramatic to spark that change. She set her phone aside, deciding to think about Eleanor's offer tomorrow. Tonight was for celebrating how far she had come. Looking out at the city lights, Zara thought about the journey that had brought her here. From the little girl practicing in a tiny living room, to the principal dancer who would soon lead one of the country's most prestigious ballet companies. From the unwelcome performer at the Wellington Gala, to an artist celebrated on international stages. The path hadn't been easy or straightforward. There had been moments of doubt, disappointment, and discrimination, but there had also been determination, discovery, and ultimately, triumph. As a young dancer, Zara had often heard that ballet was about telling stories through movement. Now she realized that her own story, of perseverance, excellence, and breaking barriers, might inspire others the way she had once been inspired. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities. There would be roles to learn, performances to give, and perhaps even more barriers to break. But tonight, Zara simply allowed herself to feel the joy of the moment, the culmination of a dream that had begun with a little girl's first dance steps. Sometimes, she thought with a smile, the most beautiful performances emerge from the most unexpected opportunities.